Hi everyone, in today's video I want to talk about where to spend your gems and how to use them most efficiently. Now gems or diamonds is the only currency in this game and you can pretty much redeem anything with them. You can do your summons through your draws, for example divination or special summon. I'll talk about the special summon tickets later on. But yeah, so you can basically use them to get any kind of characters. You can also of course go into the shop and redeem them for most of the items in the game. So what I really want to talk about is Wizard of the Diamonds that you get. Where should you best spend them? Now, first thing I want to mention is that special summon tickets. I think this is quite important. It's really expensive. It's at 800 per ticket, which if you compare this to the likes of divination, it's only 500 per summon. So it is a bit more expensive. However, you also have to bear in mind a lot of time the more exclusive characters will be coming out first in special summons. So for that reason, I definitely recommend you buy them. Now the cost does go up every single time. So the first ticket you buy is normally only 800, but then the price increases. So to get the most bang for your bucks, I would recommend just buy one every single day and just let it slowly build up that way. And one other thing I want to call out is that special summon, the items in there, even though the base rate for the character is only 2%, which is same as divination, I do actually like a lot of the other items here a bit better because it has a lot of those tokens and boost stones, which I think are a bit more important because they can actually power up your fighting spirit immediately, as opposed to your divination where you get some of those fighting soul fragments, but you only get a single one, and you need like 200 to just power up by one level. So any item you see in divination normally doesn't give you a boost immediately, unlike the special summons. I actually think the item pool itself is a bit better. So I think 800 per piece is probably worth it. Now, in terms of divination itself, divination just eats up so much diamonds, and for that reason, I typically do not recommend divination as your first choice. What I would suggest is that there's lots of things that I think you should buy on a regular basis with diamonds. If you happen to build up a huge surplus, then anything else on top, you're free to spend it however you want. For example, in divination. However, I think divination is not normally your first go. Another reason for this is some of the good characters from divination you don't actually need a super high level. So obviously you normally only want to go for Inferno or Master characters. And if we actually take a look at what's in here, Bison, to be honest, a low level Bison is sufficient because he never dies and he can serve a job as a tank up front. Now, of course, if you want to build Bison as your actual damage dealer, then that's a different question. However, just using it as a tank, a single copy is actually sufficient. And similarly, Rose, which is another character that I use a lot, um, you don't need a super high level for her. I think for her, the major thing you want to do is to be able to unlock her fighting spirit because that's a massive buff and bonus. But anything else on top, I don't think is strictly necessary because she literally just buff your team. She doesn't do any extra damage. So as long as she's just there giving out buffs, it's actually sufficient. So you don't need her at super high level. And that's why I think for divination, be careful about which character you choose. And do you really have to power up that character all the way to the max? Do you actually need to get so many duplicates for that character? But yeah, divination I think is basically where it's going to eat up most of your diamonds. However, in term priority, I argue it's actually a bit lower down. Now, the best use of diamond for me is first of all just buying sense in the shop. Obviously, first thing you want to buy a lot of those ones with just cash. So if you have anything with actual cash, then just buy them out. Now you then move on to Sense with Diamonds. Now there are a few things. So depending on which stage you are on. So if you are actually no, not which stage, but depending on whether you're in the first 30 days or afterwards, I think you may want to spend your diamonds slightly differently. If you're within the first 30 days, what normally happens is you are chasing your kind of milestone bonuses. You try to become the top three to clear a stage. And in order for you to do that, you pretty much need to max your DPS, max your equipment, accessories, etc. So during the first 30 days, because you're trying to compete with others to see who's the first one to clear certain stages, everything, such as your breakstones, your equipment, they're all very important. And for that reason, I would just say just get them all, right? Sometimes if you are further enough, you will also see those accessory craft stones. Get those as well. Get the +1 version, get the +2 version. Just get them all. You normally just want them for 1 or 2 sets for your main damage dealers, depending on how your team looks like. So anything over that, you probably don't need to worry about that. However, make sure you get at least a full set for your main damage dealer with your diamonds. I think that is going to be super important in the first 30 days. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to do this fast game. How many times is up to you. I normally do it twice or 3 times or 4 times, depending on how I feel like it. Normally, twice or 3 times is the sweet spot, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, those are also some of the ways you can use in order to get more idle rewards, potentially get some equipment, get some accessory resources, and also potentially just get enough breakstone and experience to actually power up your character. So I think within the first 30 days, all of this are going to be super important, and you want to do all of this so that you are able to become one of the first ones to clear the stage and get those massive bonuses. Now, assuming you are after the first 30 days, I think the tactic now is going to change slightly. The equipments and the craft stones for your accessories, I don't think those are as important anymore, because assuming you already have one for your whole set, anything else you get on extra is not going to improve your team that by that much. For example, if you have a bison who never dies, you can argue I don't actually need super high requirements in terms of what equipment I need to throw on my bison. Or similarly, like if you have a rogue who just doing buffs, you can argue I don't need really good equipment on her. So I think just one set is enough. Anything extra, just wait for it. Either through the idle rewards or try to redeem them in the guild shop. I think that's the other option. Now, in terms of the actual of the other ones that you want to get, what I would recommend getting is the workshop tokens and also potentially the breakstone. However, you do not want to get them in this shop. Where you actually want to get those extra stuff is actually in Shadowlow City. Once you're on floor 3, or sometimes also on floor 2, depending on how good is that shop, you can also find those of other nice stuff here. So what I recommend is normally you see here is a 20% off, 20% off, 20% off, and also 40% off. Obviously, if you see anything nice at the 40% off, try to get that. Anything which is only 20% off, I would recommend do not get that normally. However, there's one occasion where I recommend you to just sweep and take out everything in the shop. And that is when you have something which is normally in this section, which basically says all of the items in the shops in Shadow City are going to be double. So right now that event is not on. I believe that event normally comes back every 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks. So it does come back quite regularly. But as soon as that is back on, what you want to do is literally just sweep everything. Just take every single item here. Maybe not the equipment because the equipments are not double, but everything else you want to max it out. The reason for this is that because you're essentially getting double of what you are, as you can see already, even the worst discount you can see normally is 20% off. Well, 20% off means you can buy an item for 80% of the price, and because you're getting double the amount, that effectively means you're buying something for 40%, i.e., a 60% discount. So during that time, when that event is on, everything in this shop is going to be so much cheaper than anywhere else. So as soon as that happens, ignore whether it says 20% off or 40% off, just get everything. However, if that event is not on, then I will probably argue only get the if the 40% off one happens to be something you like. So that's where I would recommend you get most of your resources from. The other thing I would recommend for you to spend diamond is to actually refresh the shop itself. So even though there are lots of items which you can buy on diamonds, I suggest do not actually use them. Like I said, you can get them in Shadow City. However, to actually refresh the shop itself, even though it takes 100 gems, it's actually a really good deal because if you have sufficient normal cash, remember what I have just done. What I have done is I took 20 strengthening tokens, I took 500 breakstone, and I took 250 workshop tokens. And if I refresh it, all of them come back on again. So I'm now able to repeat and get all of this again. And that's actually a really good deal because essentially what you're able to do is getting pretty much everything that you want um, again, over and over again. Now, I believe the first two times you refresh a shop is going to cost you 100 each. So I will argue you just do that twice. Afterwards, the price increases. So I'd probably say I wouldn't go any over more than just twice a day in terms of your refreshing shops. The other thing I want to talk about is those breakstones. Even though you see this kind of 40% off a breakstone here, it's not actually that good a deal. The reason why it's not that good a deal is because if you look at here, what you're doing is you're spending 300 gems for 500 breakstone. Depending on which level you are, if you are quite far in the story maps, if you actually do your fast gains, for example, right now I'm going to spend 50 gems, and what I can get is actually 18 plus 89 breakstones. So that's already over 100 breakstones. So basically, if I do my fast gains, I'm able to get over 100 breakstones with just 50 diamonds. And if you calculate it, it's going to be worth much better. Now, of course, the price does increase as you go on. However, like I said, if you only do this twice or three times, it's actually still going to be better value than the shop. Especially because if you do this, what you notice is you also get a lot of other items, right? You also get your workshop tokens, you get your experience, you get your cash. So overall, this is just going to be so much better value than whatever you're able to get in the shop. So I really just recommend do not buy anything in the shop with diamonds. In your normal shop, anything you want to buy with diamonds, either use them to refresh the shop, but the purpose of refreshing the shop is to actually buy more with your normal cash, or you want to use it for your fast game so that you get a bit more extra resources there. And the other thing you really want to do is as soon as that event come back on, when everything in Shadow City shops are doubled, just take everything in there. Like literally, I think that's the best thing you want to use it for. And just take a look at how much it will actually cost you. I did say, equipment, you probably don't need to get that during that event. But if I just look at how much all of the other items cost, every single shop, every single time, it's going to cost me about 4,000 diamonds or 4,000 gems. And within 1 week, Shadow City can appear 3 or 4 times, right? So, and in every single time, there are actually two shops. So if you actually calculate all of this up, the diamonds and gems are gonna be pretty substantial. And that's why I say, normally do not try to spend it all in divination. Just literally just suck up all of your diamonds and gems. Instead, just take a step back, save up of your diamonds, spend them in the actual resources in Shadow City, and that normally works better for you in long term. Because you also have to think about, if I get extra resources, normally those resources are not wasted in the sense that if I get more boost stones or more workshop tokens, I can pretty much always gonna use them in my garage to summon more. You know, most of the time you will never get to a point where say, "Oh, I wish I didn't get so many workshop tokens." You will always want more of them. You want to get 6 cards for all of your characters, etc. However, in divination, I do argue the incremental benefit drops down by quite a bit. The first few times, I think this game gives you a bit of a hidden pity where you get more copies of the characters, but eventually you will see the rates are normally pretty bad. And normally you need about 30k or 40k diamonds just to get a single copy, and in order for your character to go up, you need 2 copies. So a lot of time you are seeing you'll be spending 60, 70k diamond just for a very, very small amount of improvement in your character. Whereas all of that turned into workshop tokens and getting your 6 cards instead, that is going to be so much better value. And that's why I honestly I do not actually recommend spending off your diamonds in divination.